Yes, hello everyone. Welcome to the official On Cluiche Allianz League predictions for 2025 for both Gaelic football and hurling. And I'm joined by my good friend Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman. We are going to give our official predictions for how we think it's all going to go. Matthew, you looking forward to this?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, Seamus. And it's actually saved a job on my channel to do this. I was thinking about doing this, but I've been busy with SARS and busy with sort of SAR and stuff like that. Thank God I get to do my predictions on this channel, and it should be. But one thing I am dreading is the comments after this. We'll have to see.
Matter, like you could put anybody top, anybody bottom, and we'll still get absolute dog's abuse for it. So, looking forward to it. Jer has got the ball rolling though. My good friend Jer Gregan, who's been on the pod quite a few times, Jer has given his predictions. He says Division 1 football, Galway to beat Kerry in the final, Derry and Dublin to be relegated. Division 2, Monaghan and Cavan to be promoted, Cork and Westmeath to be relegated.
Is he trying to depress us, Seamus?
So he's telling me that my county's going to get relegated and that your county's going to get relegated. Clare, so Jer's saying that his own county, Clare, will be promoted. That would be crazy. I'm only messing with Jer, but I'd love to see it. He says, hear me out on this one, but Clare and Sligo will be promoted. Kildare playing both those teams away will cost them. Fermanagh relegated alongside Leitrim. Very, very interesting. I think Fermanagh will go up. And Division 4, Wicklow and Limerick will be promoted. That's what Jer is saying. So big ups to Jer as well, getting the bar on the comments. If you are new here, that is how this all works. We will be running through all of the league tables and kind of giving our predictions as how we think it's going to happen, and it will be inside an hour. But if you want to put in your say on who you think is going to get promoted, relegated, have a bang average season in mid-table, throw it into the comments and we will engage with them all. So yes, Matthew, ready to go? We'll start with the Allianz Football League Division 1 predictions. So of course, what I was saying to you on your channel there, and if you haven't seen that video, we actually did a podcast about 30 seconds ago on Matthew's channel. I highly recommend that you go have a look at it. Did a back-to-back, which is becoming quite common in these days. We're doing back-to-backs. On top of that, I was saying to you on that podcast that I think this season in the Allianz Football League, it feels different because I would argue that right now, we have the 8 best teams in Division 1 this year. I think when you had previous years, like when Dublin and Derry were in Division 2, you knew that they were both All-Ireland contenders. You knew when Donegal and Armagh were in Division 2 that they were able to compete with the best of them, and you knew that they were All-Ireland contenders too. This year, it really feels like the best 8 teams are in Division 1. You could argue Roscommon, Monaghan should be considered there, but I firmly believe that these are the top 8.
Yeah, I would as well. These are probably the best 8 teams in the country. When you look at last year, out of the All-Ireland quarterfinalists, Tyrone and Mayo were the only ones in Division 1 not to get to the quarterfinal last year, and it was Roscommon and Loud that got there. To be honest, the Roscommon and Tyrone game was something like a fluke, really, and Mayo and Derry played each other, obviously, in the prelim, so you kind of cancelled each other out there. But yeah, I think it is the top 8 teams, there's no doubt about it. It will be interesting to see who we both predict to go down, because it is probably one of the toughest Division 1s to predict in such a long while.
Yeah, and I have to say as well at this point, guys, that if you do like giving your say, there is a new TikTok filter which was made by Sport TG Caha. I threw it up on my TikTok page as well at On Cluiche, where you can give your quick picks for who you think is going to win the league. It will randomly generate the teams that are in the division, and you just tap where you think they're going to finish. If you want to share it and back your opinions, that is a perfect way to do it. Throw out who you think is going to win the league. And yeah, I look forward to seeing how you all get on with that. Jer commented in here saying, it's not my fault that Dublin and Cork have a huge turnover of players while Clare is having players return. It's a good point. And I definitely wouldn't back Dublin. I definitely wouldn't be surprised, if Dublin do have a slow start. They kind of have tended to do that in the league over the last few years. But looking at the teams that we have, Armagh, Derry, Donegal, Dublin, Galway, Kerry, Mayo, and Tyrone. So, we'll have a quick word on kind of all of them. So we'll start off with the Ulster teams. We'll group them into provinces. So obviously from Ulster there, we have a very strong representation of Ulster. Armagh, Derry, Donegal, and Tyrone. So half the division is Ulster. that's very, very impressive for the province itself. It does speak to Ulster's dominance across, the F4C games and the college and the club championship. Obviously, with Glen winning, I know Ergo fell short, but it is very impressive for Ulster, first of all. And then on each of those counties, what are you expecting from them in 2025 in the league?
Is that an indication that we could put out our predictions now, Seamus, about some of these teams? First of all, and I have done,
when I tell you the team, if you want to go with where you think they're going to finish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have it written down here. That was before even the long day workload today. I have these listed for a long time though, because I'm looking at the fixtures, I calculated the points and everything I had. I think straight off the bat, I think Derry will finish 7th and get relegated. Because, and I'll tell you the reason why. The appointment of Paddy Tally was strange. It took 3 months for them to appoint a manager, and I think the most hard Derry supporters would argue as well, Paddy Tally was not their first choice. And that could have a serious impact on the team, I think. And what I noticed with Derry, especially the championship last year, if one thing goes slightly wrong in the game, the whole thing collapses. It's like a domino effect. So I feel like Derry, unless they change kind of their persona, I do think Derry are going to be relegated to Division 2. As for the other 3 teams, I think they'll finish in the top 4, every one of them, throwing Armagh and Donegal. I'll say it off the bat, I think Donegal will finish top, and I think Armagh will finish 2nd.
Okay.
Interesting. I think, and I think Donegal will win the league. I'll put it that way. I do think...
You're kidding. I think that too. This is unbelievable. What an incredible start to the year.
Exactly. Like it might be a shock seeing Armagh. I just feel like their fixtures are very kind to them, Armagh. They are very kind to them. So I do feel like a Division 1 final could be there for them. It might go the other way as well. They might have a few blips, including this weekend against Galway. But I just feel like Armagh will probably get to the final. It'll be an interesting one between Donegal and Armagh. It'll be interesting, actually. According to my prediction, it's Donegal and Armagh in the final. They were the Division 2 final last year. And the same thing happened with Dublin and Derry last year. So you could see the pattern here. You could see the pattern. And to be fair, like Derry and Dublin were too good for Division 2. So were Armagh and Donegal. And they will stamp their authority in Division 1. As for Tyrone, I said actually in my Cork review with Aaron on his channel that Tyrone were my early favourites for the All-Ireland. I'm not sure about it though. Like, to be honest, I think anybody could win the All-Ireland. It's going to be very, very tight this season. But Tyrone are a winner in Malachy O'Rourke. You have players, Joe mentioned with Clare, but I don't know the ins and outs of Clare and things like that. But I know with Tyrone, there are players returning to the panel, and there are players for the underage, like this, like Shea O'Hare, Owen McElhone. I'd imagine Conor Cush has to step up this year from a Tyrone point of view. So I think as the year goes on, Tyrone will get better. And they will find a role for the likes of Joe Goose as well. Who will he play alongside if Joe Goose does start in midfield? Will it be Brian Kennedy? Will it be Con Kilpatrick? But you could see the options that Tyrone have. Darren McCurry in the forward line, Owen McElhone, Dara Canavan, Rory Canavan, Cathal McShane if he's on it. I feel like Tyrone have some excellent players. And Niall Morgan in goal, that's an extra attacker in these new rules. I think Tyrone could do well this year, I'll be honest. I think they'll finish 4th of Division 1. But I think as the year goes on, I think they'll improve. And they will be at the latter end of the All-Ireland, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would look at it and think, okay, so what I'm thinking of doing and pivoting to is for Division 1 and Division 2, I'll say the county, and then 3, 2, 1, we'll both say where we put them, and then we can debate it. So, Armagh, you've gone 2nd, I've gone 3rd. I think that they will slip up in a couple of games that might cost them getting to an Allianz League final. I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I can't 100% comment on, obviously the situation that happened, in the off season. Will that impact the team? Will that impact the camp? We don't know. How will they adapt to the new rules? Again, we don't know. Players like Rian O'Neill have massive potential with those new rules. Like they could fire over 2-pointers for fun. Players like Rian O'Neill could do that. So it'd be very interesting to see Aidan Forker as well. Definitely has a 2-pointer in him off the outside of the left boot. I think Armagh will finish third. I've gone with Derry to be relegated as well. I've gone with them to finish 8th. I just think Derry are very likely to implode. I just think if something goes wrong, I think we could see it drastically go wrong, especially when you look at when they hired Paddy Tally. Like it doesn't scream confidence. Donegal, I've gone with them to finish first, as I said. Absolutely. Be confident in Donegal in the league, and I think McGuinness will flex a little bit of what he's got. To which Jer disagrees, says I think Donegal will win the All-Ireland, but I don't think they will target a league final. I definitely understand the point that you're making, Jer. I think Jim will keep a couple of bag of tricks for the championship. Gavin O'Reilly here says, shout out to Sinead. Yes, she was on for my league picks last year. Last year, picking Monaghan to go down on last year's predictions. Most of us were thinking Monaghan never go down, but of course, that's when they go down. Yeah, that definitely was a case of third time unlucky for me. I picked them to go down year after year. And one time I was like, you know what, I'll back them this year to finish 6th. They go and beat Dublin in the first game, which made me feel quite confident about having picked them to stay up, and then they lose the rest of their games. So wasn't too thrilled with them there that year. Dublin. 3, 2, 1, 4.
6th.
Oh, 6th. Explain.
There's a lot of turnover in this Dublin panel. I think that's the obvious. A lot of people are tipping them to go down. I don't think they'll go down because I think there's two teams worse than them, including Derry, as we mentioned. I think like Brian Fenton's a huge loss, and it will take time for the likes of Pat O'Cuffey, Byrne, Michael Fitzsimons, Conor O'Callaghan. Like they'll be on the beer this week, surely. You know, I think it will take time for them to get their groove. And we don't obviously know, you said it on my last pod a minute ago, Paul Mannion, Stephen Cluxton, we don't know the situation with that. I do think Dublin have potential to introduce a few players, though, into this panel. The likes of Pat O'Cuffey, Byrne, for example, the likes of Peter Duffy. Greg McEnany was impressive in the Sigerson Cup and last year at stages for Dublin as well. I'll be interested to see him. Larkin O'Dell as well. So it is an opportunity for new players in this system under Dessie Farrell to press. And I think there's an element of that. But there might be an element as well of inexperience a small bit. And I feel like they'll finish 6th. They'll stay up, but I think they might struggle in a few games in the league. And to be fair, that's normally a good sign for Dublin, isn't it, Joe Seamus? You do poorly enough in the league, but then the championship, you gain a bit of form. And I think that's maybe what Dublin will do this year. I don't think they'll be as bad as people are making them out to be this year, but I have them 6th.
Yeah, I think we might start slow. My kind of logic behind this, I could see us slipping up against Mayo, honestly, on the opening day. I could see us slipping up, but then I can see us picking up some good wins and kind of towards the end of the league getting like back-to-back wins that kind of push us up to 4th and into safety kind of thing. Galway. 3, 2, 1, 6.
3rd.
Okay, we've gone different on that one as well. I personally see Galway having a very similar season to the one that they had last year, where they just kind of trudge along in the league and they don't really do too much to get your heart racing. What are you expecting from Galway?
The one element that most people are talking about, I think this will benefit Galway hugely. Shane Walsh, Kilmacud going out early. I think that will benefit him going into this league, and he will. This is a chance for Shane Walsh now to hit the ground running, because he hasn't done so over the last few years. Since, let's be honest though, Seamus, since 2022, since that miraculous all-out final performance against Kerry, has he delivered in a Galway shirt? I don't think he has.
I think the quarterfinal against Dublin this year, I think he was very good.
Yeah,
the one where he
but
was
then in the the final against Armagh, he was missing frees that you wouldn't associate with Walsh.
Agreed.
And I feel like that in a way is down to tiredness. And you look at Galway's fixtures, I think they're very favourable in this, and I think they could gain a bit of form and finish third in this Division 1 campaign.
And the biggest thing that Galway need to do this year is they need to have something else to turn, someone else to turn to when they're in the fire. Because at the All-Ireland final, it was like, how could I compare this? It was like, you know, when like a dog can't get in through like the patio door or something, the dog door on a back door, if it's locked and you just watch a dog run into it over and over and over again. It was like Shane Walsh wasn't hitting it. He wasn't scoring these frees. And in the dying minutes of the All-Ireland final, Galway kept like making him take it, making him take those shots. And you're like, he's not scoring. Someone else needs to take the shot here. And Killian McDaid put his hand up. Cian Darcy put his hand up. But like
Conor Gleeson, surely.
Yeah, my point is Gleeson, like they backed Gleeson to kick the winning free in the Connacht title. I was like, let him have a crack. Let him have a crack at it because he definitely has the distance. And most of Walsh's kicks were dropping short. I was like, whatever's happening, whether it's tiredness, whether it's fatigue, because this guy is on the road, not only with Galway all the time, but with Kilmacud Crokes, the club seasons were extending right up until when it was time to go back with Galway as well. And I was like, whatever it is, his kicks aren't making it the distance it would need to go over the bar, whereas Gleeson definitely would put his boot through it and either put it over the bar or put it wide. But at least he'd put it dead and Armagh wouldn't get to counter. So I think that's something that probably has been on their minds. But my main thing is when they're in the fire next year, or over the next year, they need to have Comer ready to take on the heat, Culhan, Finnerty ready to take on the pressure and take some of it off Walsh's shoulders. Because I think it was glaringly obvious in last year's final that once Walsh wasn't at peak form, they were in big trouble in terms of having people to turn to take crucial shots. But yeah, I expect them to kind of have a very similar league to the one that they had last year, where they just kind of barely stay up, but not really set the world alight. Kerry, 3, 2, 1, second. Fifth.
I will give my reasons on this. I do think Kerry will improve as the year goes on and they will peak for the All-Ireland. But okay. Seamus, you have to take into account the fixture list here. And this isn't because I don't think Kerry is a bad team. They have 4 away fixtures and 2 of them are up the north against Derry and Tyrone. I feel like those are difficult places to go to, no matter how Derry are performing or how Tyrone are performing, because you have the journey on the bus to go up to those counties as well. Yeah. For a county so low down as Kerry. And the performance might not be there. You have to take it into that account as well. Their other 2 away games, they're away to Mayo on the third last game on a Saturday evening in McHale Park. The last time they went out to McHale Park on a Saturday evening, they lost to the league. And they're away to Galway on the last day on a Sunday. I feel like they'll lose all them away games and they'll win their home games and gain 6 points. I just feel like it's not just the play. I don't think it's the players whatsoever. I think it's the logistics, and you have to take that into account as well.
I personally would just look at this the other way around. This is why I put Kerry in second place. I would look at how much they're being written off, like how much people are forgetting about them. Like nobody really is saying out and out Kerry will win the All-Ireland this year. They still have the Cliffords. They still have Shawnee O'Shea. They still have players like Tony Brosnan, Gavin White. And crucially, I've said Tony Brosnan and Gavin White. They're the only Kerry players that were, obviously central to the panel last season who've had a long road with Dr. Crokes. I can see Jack O'Connor letting them sit out for the first few games of the league. But Clifford, Sean O'Shea, like I can imagine that they've been chomping at the bit, ready to get back in and strut their stuff and remind everybody how good they are. So that's why I'm picking them to beat Donegal in round 1. And I'm picking them to pick up some impressive wins throughout the league, but not top it. I think Donegal will just about shade that. And Mayo, 3, 2, 1, 7. So we're on a similar wavelength. But do you want to say why you think Mayo will be relegated?
I just feel like the leaders in the dressing room are gone now. The over-reliance on Ryan O'Donoghue, they need a forward to step up. They've had scores from play and all that over the last few years. Tommy Conroy, I feel this guy needs to step up more than ever this year. James Carr, if he is fit, needs to step up, because you can't keep relying on, like, you looked at the Ryan, I don't know who stat last year. He was the top scorer of the championship overall, despite Mayo going out in the prelims. And I looked into it and thinking, geez, Ryan performed really well, but you look at the other Mayo scorers, they aren't scoring enough other than Ryan. I don't know who. I'd say the only one that really stepped up for Mayo, let's be honest, last year, other than Ryan, was Jordan Flynn.
Yeah, Jordan.
And Jordan won't be available for the first few rounds, obviously, because of cross-United Deed Rovers being in All-Ireland club action this weekend. So I think Mayo could struggle. I really think they could. I think what will separate them from the Derry, why I think Derry will finish 7th and Mayo finish 8th. Derry play Mayo in Celtic Park. I think they'll finish on the same points, but because of the head-to-head rule, Derry will finish 7th above them.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're both on the same wavelength, more or less, in terms of who we think will win. I think we both picked Donegal to win the league, and we both picked Derry and Mayo to go down. So it's been a pretty good start. We have a good few people watching, guys. So do throw in what you think the league is going to finish like, as Jared threw in. If you want to throw in from 1st to 8th, and I can ask you questions as well if there's one that jumps out to me that I'm like, whoa, surprised to see that one there. And then Jay says here, is it not when Mayo seem to be coming to an end that they have their best seasons? I will give them credit. They always seem to be able to pull players out of absolutely nowhere, like especially under James Horan. Every time they went out there, it was like they had 7 debutants or everything like that. Gavin O'Reilly has dropped in his Division 1 table prediction. It says 1st Donegal and the winner, 2nd Kerry, 3rd Galway, 4th Armagh, 5th Derry, 6th Tyrone, 7th Dublin, and 8th Mayo. Interesting. So he's definitely agreed with certain things. It's like a mashup of agreements with Jer's table, my table, and your table. But yeah, we are going to move on now to Division 2. We're going to move on and we're going to do the same thing for Division 2. And I think Division 2, Matthew, is always the most difficult division to predict. I mean, the amount of teams in this division, I feel, that could either go up or go down is crazy. Like, I think the only team that I would feel confident won't go up would probably be Westmeath, because of how hard they've been hit in the off-season. Desi Dolan stepping away, John Heslin retiring, and Ronan O'Toole stepping away from the panel for the year. Like, that's the 3 that would have hit them the hardest. Like, a brilliant manager in Desi Dolan, their talisman in John Heslin, and one of the best players in the country in Ronan O'Toole. Like, Ronan O'Toole is such a good player. But yeah, let's start with this. So let's actually predict how we think this is going to go. Cavan, 3, 2, 1.
7th.
You picked Cavan to go down. Oh my God, John McMahon.
And this has been cemented by John's comments on his own podcast on Monday about the Paddy Lynch injury and the extent of it. Without Paddy Lynch last year, Cavan struggled massively. I think he's the beating heart in that forward line. He scores about 8, 9, 10 points a game. And as well, like, you looked at Cavan in the championship, this was a perfect comparison. Cavan against Monaghan and Tyrone, they looked serious. But then when they lost Lynch, they then go into games against Dublin, Mayo, and Roscommon, and they look bang average.
Yeah,
that's my argument on it. I know Garrett McKieran is back in the team from Cavan, but I do feel like any team could go down here from Division 2. I'm not going to spoil anything now, but I think Cavan might be the side just to fall short and just to go down to Division 3.
Interesting. I've gone with Cavan to finish 5th. I think they'll pick up some important wins. I think I could see them beating Monaghan this weekend. I could see them narrowly doing. I know I went for a draw on your pod, but I think that they're well set up under Galligan. I think with the new rules, it'll be interesting to see. Again, the new rules are just going to shake all of this up. Like I was saying to you on your pod, like if there's ever a weekend where we are unsure more than ever of what's going to happen, it is this weekend. Because I think a lot of teams are going to thrive with the new rules. A lot of teams are going to struggle with the new rules. But I think we'll only really know who's going to be who when the league is said and done. I still don't think we'll know after the first weekend. It'll be like a first preview prediction type thing. But yeah, so moving on then to the second team in the league, Cork. 3, 2, 1.
5th.
7th. I'm so sorry, man. I really think when you said it to me on your podcast there, I changed my prediction. I had Cork 6th and I had Meath actually 7th. But I think the Meath Cork game this weekend could be the difference, man. I think if Meath win that, I think they might just about survive. And having seen how hard Cork have been hit in the off season with so many players, 8 players stepping away, I just think they might slip under, especially in a division as cutthroat as this one.
I did speak to John Cleary for the Southern Star, and I do feel like he wants not to be at the lower end of Division 2. He wants to be at the higher end of Division 2. He says promotion's always the aim. I feel like it would break this Cork team if they went down. I do think it is. I would agree with John on this. One of his comments that he said to me, there is an opportunity for players to step up here. Yes, Chris Ogan and Brian Hurley are in the starting 15. Obviously, Mark Cronin will probably be there as well. Carl O'Mahony's going to be back this year. He's back from injury, so that's a boost. I'm guessing midfield, we are going to be tight against Meath. There's no doubt about that. But there are still players there that are quality enough to keep Cork in this division. It's as simple as that. Like Daniel O'Mahony is one of the best fullbacks in the country, alongside Aaron McKay and Brendan McCall. I don't care what anybody says. He is an excellent fullback, one of the best in the country at that. Brian Hurley, I feel like, in a weird way, I feel like with Stephen Sherlock gone, I feel like Brian Hurley can excel. And I feel like he can kick from outside the arc, no bother to him as well. And him inside, he doesn't have to trap back now, and that could suit Brian Hurley's game. I think he could be a revolutionised player in the league. And as well as that, people aren't mentioning this as well. We beat Dublin in the challenge game recently, and we were the only team to score 2-pointer in that game through Owen McSweeney. That was what the reports were anyway around that game. And Owen McSweeney's a long kicker as well, and that would suit his game. It will be interesting to see who we play in goal and defence and all that. The injuries are colossal, but as John said, it is an opportunity for the likes of Sean McDonald, the likes of Ian O'Hanlon, Chris O to really step up, Chris O'Jones to really step up and take the game by the scruff of the neck, Paul Walsh in midfield. It's a chance for these players to do well. But I'd argue as well, Seamus, I know we've lost all the players, but you can't go from beating a side that we all say would win the Division 1 title in Donegal last year in Páirc Uí Rinn to go to Division 3.
Yeah.
That's my argument. I think there's still, when the pit is in the fire or whatever, something is there for this Cork team.
I think they're very inconsistent though, man. Because the same year that they did that, they also lost games where they shouldn't have. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was it Clare? It was 2 years ago they lost to Clare, wasn't it now? 2023. And that was a Clare team that did get relegated to Division 3.
But that's also a Clare team, Seamus, and we're pointing out that's always a Clare team that upped their game for Cork and for no one else.
Yeah. That's true. I think Clare definitely did up their game. I do think Cork could stay up, and I'm definitely not saying it as like a absolute cert 100%. They're definitely not 100% going down. I think after this weekend it will be much more clear anyway as to who's who in this division. Like, there's so many, this is the problem as well, there's so many inconsistent teams in it. Meath are literally the kings of being inconsistent. Monaghan, so inconsistent. We have here Down as well. Down have such a capability of shooting themselves in the foot. Like, how did Down even end up in Division 3 in the first place? And we're here now. So, yeah, I feel like I think they might just slip under. We have a question here for you from Jer. Jer is asking a pretty direct question, Matthew. He said, how well has promotion from Division 2 always being the aim worked for Cork since 2016? I think... But
just, Joe, you have to take into account as well, 2016 and 2017, we were under Padder Healy, who was, let's be honest, he was a great coach under Conor Coonan and a great guy in the backroom team, but he was never set out as a manager. Ronan McCarthy then came in, did nothing with the team. I feel like John, you have to remember this as well. John masterminded this Cork team to beat Mayo, to beat Roscommon in the championship, to get within 4 points of Derry in the All-Ireland quarter-final, to be close to Kerry in 2 seasons, to not get a slaughtering off them.
Yeah.
I feel like the only, when you think about it, really, and you have to take things into account and all that, in the last 2 years, we have only got one hammering against Donegal in Ballybofey in a wet day up there in January. That was the only battering this Cork team under John Cleary has took. When John Cleary was the staple down manager, he only came in for Keith Riggin in 2022. But since the start of 23, we've got one battering. That's it. We don't get battered anymore. We lose these games by just split-second decisions.
Yeah.
And I think, and as well as that, last year, what was our Achilles heel was keeping the ball for too long. I feel like with these new rules, it should be an opportunity for these Cork players to have the confidence to kick.
Yeah.
And I think, I'll be honest, I think these Cork players are capable of kicking outside the arc. They are capable of kicking lovely scores. And there are some counties which these new rules will suit, and some counties which it won't. I think Cork, I'll be hopeful anyway that these rules might suit this Cork team in terms of kicking in particular, and solo go as well. I think maybe them 2 rules, or maybe others, could suit this Cork team.
Yeah, no, I think, look, the fact is, I would say I'm pretty confident in who I think will win the league. And then from 2nd to 7th, I don't have a breeze who's going to finish where. I think just basing it off the amount of players the Cork have lost, because I would say a team that they always were quite close with in terms of the games that they played against them was Clare. And when Clare lost all those players, when I think it was 11 players or something departed, they did just slip under. Like, they did just slip under. And I think for Cork to lose that many, and the players that they have out with injury, I think it might just be a little bit too hard. Now, if they get a couple of bad defeats at the start, I could see them having a situation where they're like very like Dublin a couple of years ago when Dublin went down, that like, even though Dublin went down swinging and the results that they had at the end of the league did make you feel, confident that we would bounce straight back up. I think that might be a similar situation, but given I've said it, they'll probably get promoted now. Down will be an interesting one. What have you got? 3, 2, 1, 4.
Second.
To be promoted.
Yeah.
So what have you seen that makes you very confident in Down to be promoted?
Number one, the buy-in from the Kilcoo players. This has been at a high for so many seasons, for the last few seasons now under Conor Laverty. The confidence of the players under Conor Laverty. Like, Down were not just, like, out of the Sligo game, to be fair, Sligo, we'll talk about them in Division 3 a bit. Sligo I rate as a very good team. They were battering nearly every team in the Tatsman Cup Down. They won it comfortably enough. I know Laois gave them a bit of a scare in the final, but I think this is an upward trajectory for this Down team as well. The likes of Orr Murdoch there, the likes of Danny McGill, Ryan McGill, have, like, Danny McGill in the Sigerson Cup over the last few weeks for Ulster University. He scored 5 points for play for wing back. Daniel Guinness was one of the top scorers for play for defence as well for Down. Again, I do think the new rules will suit this Down team because Orr Murdoch could kick long. You have Danny McGill running up the pitch. You have Danny Guinness, who's full of beans and full of energy. I think Ryan Johnston, Sheelan Johnston are very, very talented footballers as well. I think, like, they do have some talented footballers, this Down team. Like, they were under 20 Ulster champions a few years ago as well. And like, I do rate this Down team. I really do. Conor Laverty seems to be getting a tune out of them as well. I think they could be a team that you'd look at and think these could be dark horses here. And yeah, I think Down will go up. I really think so. I think they'll be really it might be a shock team to go up, but I do think they can do it. They can do it. Maybe a different situation to Meath last year, because Meath, when you looked at Meath, this is another point as well, winning the Tatsman Cup, they went into that Dublin game in Croke Park and it was like they lost before the whistle was blown to throw the ball in. Down got within a last minute point of the eventual All-Ireland champions last year in Ulster, in Armagh. They pushed them all the way. Judging by that as well, I do think they do.
Literally just put that in
Yeah.
30 seconds before you said it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Crazy.
great minds think alike and all that, but they were close to Armagh, and they did very well in the Tailteann Cup as well. And Conor Laverty seems to be getting a bit of positivity in Down, because it hasn't been the case with Down football over the last few seasons.
No, it definitely
I
wasn't
think
a few years ago. Like the
no,
turnaround has been
wasn't
crazy in
all.
terms of players actually opting out now to players buying in. Like I remember Eugene Brannigan especially coming out and saying he'd never play for Down and all this stuff. It's like, and now it's gone to where he has, and the Kilcoo players have bought in. I think Down have a lot of flair players, but I think I've seen a streak where they're quite almost like prone to shooting themselves in the foot, and I think they'll lose a couple of games, which will really cost them. Like I could see them slipping up against Monaghan, Roscommon, games like that, and then that could be enough to just make them miss, which is why I've gone with them in fourth place. Next up on the list is Louth, and I will speed it up obviously because I'm keeping an eye on the time. But Louth, 3, 2, 1,
Third.
second. I will start this because I've obviously made a prediction that will make people a little bit surprised. I think Louth's arc is just up and up and up. They just seem to be getting better and better every year. And I really did think last year, watching them, that this year would be the year that they would break through and they would make it to Division 1. I think for Ger Brennan and for Louth, it would be an unbelievable achievement if they were to do it. The one thing that freaks me out is, you're right saying this, they did play very defensive last season. They were quite slow in terms of how they moved the ball from defence to attack, especially in the Leinster final against Dublin. They were very, very methodical and slow in their build-up. However, with the new attacking wheels, they're not going to be able to do that to the same level. But I do think that Ger Brennan is a fantastic coach, very shrewd operator. I think they'll figure out a way. And I think with some big wins at home, I think they will slip ahead of who I've picked to go third. What do you think?
I think what will cost down, low promotion to Division 1, I do think it's the new rules. Because like I've watched Louth so many times in the last few seasons, obviously playing Cork and you're playing the Leinster final against Dublin and watching on TV. Every time Samuel Roy stepped up to take free, the whole team would retreat back.
Yeah,
they can't do that anymore now, and I'm just going to say I'll be intrigued what happens here, because that was Louth's tactic over the last few seasons to frustrate the opposition. They can't do that now. Like if they play 12 men back, teams in Division 2 and definitely in Division 1 will find gaps in this Louth defence now that there's less men back there. So I do think that might make them come a cropper and then getting promoted. That's my honest view on it. I don't think they'll get promoted just because of the rules. That would scupper them a small bit. I still think confidence is a huge thing. It's a huge valve, and I think that'll get them up to third place, but just missing out on second.
Yeah, but Gavin has a question here towards Ger, and I think by extension yourself, seeing as you made the same point. He said, but was that not through defensive football that Down got close to Armagh? They can't do that anymore. And that's kind of a similar point. I do think Down probably have more attacking flair than Louth do, in terms of players like Liam Kerr, the Johnstons. I could see them, Pat Havern as well, as a real flair player. Like once he gets going, he's very, very hard to stop. But I just think their tendency to shoot themselves in the foot that I've seen in terms of the Tailteann Cup making games more difficult than they needed to be, I think will be what costs them certain games in this division. Next up is Meath. 3, 2, 1, sixth.
Sixth.
There we go. Identical and on the money. I think Robbie Brennan will have a somewhat decent spell with them. I don't think that they'll get relegated. I think if we're happy enough to move on, is there much to say?
There isn't really. I do think Meath have a lot of attacking talent. I think the main thing for them is to stand up to the challenge against Dublin this year. And I think every neutral wants this to happen from a Meath point of view. Please.
I'm a dub. I want it to happen. I'm sick of people rolling over for Dublin and Leinster without a fight at all. Like I don't care. Like Meath last year, they came up to get their ass whooped. They didn't put in any fight You know, like the minute Dublin got a goal, the minute Dublin got a few points ahead of them, it was over. And like everyone in the state, like I met people that day because I was there working that day. And like the Camogie League finals were on. And I met people that day who watched the Camogie finals, who then knew that Dublin were playing Meath next and were leaving the stadium.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why would I stay for this? I'm like, it's Dublin and Meath. This is supposed to be one of the biggest rivalries in Gaelic football. The GAA needs Meath to beat Dublin. And
one thing on Meath, and you said Cork would go down. Like Cork would actually give a fight to Kerry down in Munster. Yeah. I know many people would say the rivalry is dead and stuff like that, but Cork would always put in a fight, and they put in a tackle to rouse up the crowd in Killarney or Parky Heave or wherever it is. It just hasn't been the same for Meath. And I'm just hoping, with Robbie Brennan in charge now, that the fire in the belly will be back within the Royal players.
Robbie Brennan's a superb manager. Yeah. Like, even the way he handled the whole Kilmacud Crokes, he was brilliant. And I think he'll be able to get a tune out with this Meath team. I'd be very confident. But I was confident about O'Rourke. I really was. Yeah. I was confident about O'Rourke. I was like, this guy's a Meath legend. Like, this guy went to war for Meath every time he crossed that line onto the pitch. He was Ireland's international rules manager in the AFL series against Australia. And I was like, he's perfect for the job. He came in, they made a decent start under him. And then just the way even he spoke in his post-match press conference, like, I think it was just like, he wasn't surprised at all that Dublin had beat them relatively easy. And I was like, at least Louth came up with a game plan. Louth came up with a plan of how they realistically thought they were going to win that Leinster final. And I think Robbie Brennan will be the type that will be like, no matter what, Robbie Brennan will always feel like his team has a shot. And I think that they'll give Dublin a right good rattle this year, especially with Fenton, McCarthy going away. And the reality is, it's coming from a dub. It would be good for GAA. It would be good for Gaelic football if Meath were to announce themselves back in as serious contenders to win the Leinster Championship. Because you look at 2007, you look at 2004, 82,300 people turned up to watch Meath play Dublin in Croke Park, sold out. Those games, and it's not just because at the time I was a kid and, like, you know, everything, you know, feels massive when you're going to an event at that age, but those games were huge. Those games, Dublin and Meath, was must see. You cannot miss this, and it just hasn't been like that for the last, 10 years, to be honest. So I think the GA badly needs Meath to beat Dublin. Badly needs Kildare to, put themselves into contention for Leinster as well. And Louth have shown them the way, in my opinion, in terms of getting the best out of what you have. But yeah, I think Meath will finish 6th. Monaghan, I'm going for 3, 2, 1.
4th.
More or less on the same page. What do you think is going to drag them down?
I think just the players leaving the panel for this Monaghan team, and as well Kevin Kennedy from GA Sports Track Rack, again from the GMAT podcast. We're speaking a lot about John tonight, aren't we? He'd be delighted we're listening to his podcast. Maybe not delighted that I predict having to go down, but look, we'll brush out the carpet, John. I'll watch your podcast every week and be honest and stuff like that. But from a Monaghan point of view, Kevin did mention this. He says that Monaghan have the same men in and around the backroom team as they did last year, and there's no change in their tactics. And when Monaghan, they only won 2 games overall last year, which is a worrying statistic. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll stay up, no problem. But I think that might drag them down, because the way they went down last year and the way they lost so many championship games as well, I feel the way they went down to Killarney and just got hammered by Kerry, I feel like it might have been the coming of the end of this Monaghan team, unfortunately, punching above their weight and then going down. But I think they'll be fine. They'll finish 4th. But I think there could be a few seasons of Division 2 just to recuperate a small bit. Yeah,
I would agree with you. I think they'll just about miss out on it this year. And I think then they might be stuck for the next couple of years, because whoever comes down from Division 1 is going to take some beating in next year's Division 2. We have a couple of comments in here. Jack Nulty says Donegal probably go okay, run a lot. Picking them for the All-Ireland. I am not on this train that Donegal win All Ireland too early to call. I think Kerry or Tyrone will be there and possibly Galway. Yeah, I genuinely think, look, Jack, I genuinely think you can't rule out anybody. It's so open. I genuinely think you look over the last decade, 2014 to 2018, 2019, it was definitely Dublin's to lose every year. And then it was a question of who was most likely to beat them. Yeah, very, very interesting. Gavin has predicted his Division 2 table. He says Division 2 predictions, Roscommon to be the winners. Cavan second, Louth third, Down fourth, Monaghan fifth, Cork sixth, Westmeath and Meath to go down. So bad Division 2 campaign potentially for Leinster. And then Patrick Cahill with a question. Matthew, I'll show this one to you and then I'll give my little take on it. From Patrick Cahill, he said, why do you think Armagh are not fancy to follow up their All-Ireland victory? They're still a very young and talented team.
Few things. Number one, the off-season shenanigans. I'm not mentioning it. I don't know much about it, but that could have a serious impact on the team. And number two, Ulster sides don't defend All-Ireland well. You look at Tyrone in 21 to 22, it's probably one of the worst All-Ireland defences in history. Donegal got absolutely
Who was the
hammered.
last Ulster team to defend their All-Ireland? Is it down 1960, 1961?
Probably, yeah. I think the last one to defend their All-Ireland dignity, coincidentally, was Armagh 2002, 2003. They actually got to the All-Ireland final after that. But I remember Tyrone losing to Laois in the qualifiers in 2006 and them getting absolutely hammered by Cork in the All-Ireland semi-final in 2009. It happens. I don't know what it is. It does happen to Ulster sides where they just have a bit of a blip, a bit of a dip the year after they win the All-Ireland. I think it's that.
Well, what has been a obvious trend for me as well is looking at the Ulster Championship is whenever a team in Ulster wins an All-Ireland, it's like the rest of the teams in Ulster can't wait to get their hands on them. I'd say like Tyrone, Derry, Donegal, they all would have been just raging looking at Armagh winning the All-Ireland title, thinking like that, should be us. Like they'll all have that mindset. You look at like Tyrone when they had literally an unbelievable team in the 2000s, winning those 3 All-Irelands. They come back. They always got torn into in Ulster whenever they come back. Whereas, as I said, Dublin, everybody laid down to Dublin, especially during the 2010s. Nobody really put it up to them around 2016 up to 2020 and even up to the present day. Louth in the Leinster final was, I think, the first game where I've actually not been 100% sure that Dublin were going to win in Leinster in a long, long, long time. So I think that definitely takes it out of teams that when they've the target on their back in Ulster, that every game it's like, an absolute battle. Kerry and Cork as well. As you said, no matter what Cork have been going through, they always raise their game for Kerry. And the Connacht Championship as well, the triangle of, Roscommon, Mayo, Galway, they always get stuck into each other as well. So, I think Ulster, it's the most competitive for sure. And I think Armagh, I personally don't think Armagh will do it this year. I just think that they'll get absolutely torn into an Ulster. And I think that they might, be carrying it some knocks going into the crucial stages of the All-Ireland. That being said, they won the All-Ireland after making it to the Ulster final and losing on penalties. The honest truth is, Patrick, I haven't a breeze who's going to win the All-Ireland. I really, really, really don't know. Because it's as open as I can ever remember it being. Finishing up, Roscommon and Westmeath. Now, I'm going to go out on a whim and say that you've picked Roscommon to win and Westmeath to go last.
Yeah.
Westmeath, I think we can both agree the players that they're missing now in John Heslin and Ronan O'Toole and the departure of Desi Dolan, it will be a very tough ask for them to stay.
And added to that as well, Seamus, there's rumours Ronan Wallace has left the panel as well. Not confirmed, but
huge loss that would be.
Yeah.
That would be a huge loss. Obviously, we won't go on that it's definitely happened, but if it has, that's a massive loss. And for Roscommon, I think this would be a very important year for Roscommon and Davy Burke. Obviously, like they have been in this weird position. And Gavin O'Reilly, if you're still watching, obviously as a Roscommon fan, how are you feeling going into this season? I'd be very interested to get your thoughts. I feel like Roscommon have almost been in this limbo spot where they're too good for Division Two and they can consistently bounce back out. But it's like whatever reason in different seasons, they've been unable to stay permanently in Division One. They've been able to put together a couple of seasons back to back, but then they usually go back down to Division Two. I still think they're the experts at getting out of Division Two, and I think they'll do it again and finish top.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they'll finish on to add to that 14 points and go up. And I think they'll probably beat down in the final, even though that'll be a tight game. It should be interesting. If that was the case.
That would be a very good game in Croker. And as I said, Gavin, I'd be very interested in your take as a diehard Roscommon fan. Moving on then to Division 3. To speed it up, we're going to give our full tables and then I'll ask questions to you about it. We'll compare the tables. So, Matthew, if you wouldn't mind doing the honours first, your Division 3 table prediction.
Let's go. In 8th place, Leitrim.
Agreed.
In 7th place, Antrim.
Agreed.
In 6th place, Laois.
Agreed.
In 5th place, Clare.
Disagreed. I said Offaly. We'll come back to it.
4th, Offaly.
I disagreed. I said Sligo.
Wait, what? Oh, okay. I'll continue. But Jesus, that's a curveball. 3rd, Fermanagh.
Agreed.
2nd, Kildare.
Disagreed. I said Clare.
And 1st, Sligo.
Disagreed. I said Kildare. So, obviously, considering I nearly made your soul leave your body when I said Sligo to finish 4th. Explain why do you think Sligo are going to go up?
The way they were so close to down at the Celtic Cup last year, and the fact they were ahead of Galway going into additional time last year in the Connacht Championship, and the under-20 success with Sligo. Tony McEntee is building something with them, and school success with Summerhill, and the success with Coolera the club championship. Something's building in Sligo. I really think Sligo football is on an upward trajectory right now. And I do think, actually, I did the points tallies. I think Sligo Kildare will both end on 12 points, but I think Sligo will finish ahead of them because Sligo will beat them in Markievicz Park. Mm-hmm. That's my honest opinion. But just for anybody that's confused, I do think Kildare will actually win the Division 3 final, but I think Sligo will finish first just because of the head-to-head record. I think Croke Park will suit that Kildare team more. I think Sligo, they're on the upper trajectory. I can't see any world where Sligo and Kildare don't go up. I think the closest challengers is Fermanagh, but that'll be about it. I think for Sligo, I think they're on an upper trajectory. For Kildare, they have to go up, don't they, Seamus? They have to. Simple as. They have the players. They have Brian Flanagan in charge now. There's no excuse. They have to go up. I do think Flanagan will get a tune out of these Kildare players. I think they'll go up. And it should be obvious, to be honest.
I think Kildare will top it. I think I would expect if Kildare are serious about, getting back to where they should be, they should win all 7 games. Like there shouldn't be like if they want to be at the level that they were when they were under Kieran McGeeney, the Kieran McGeeney team would win all 7 games in this division. No doubt about it. We have a comment in here from Liam White for you, Matthew. He said, Matthew, you're brave to be saying us in 4th. And then Gavin O'Reilly also says, hopefully Division 2 is a chance to bring on the younger players like Shane McGinley, Adam McDermott, and some under-20s. Great to have Ben O'Carroll back as well. Having Ben O'Carroll back is a game changer. He's a world-class player. And McGinley, obviously Shane McGinley's goal was voted the TG Carr Gaelic football goal of the year. And if you've seen it, it's an unbelievable finish. Rifles it in to the top corner across the goal. It's an unbelievable finish. And just from that goal alone, you're thinking geez, who the hell is this lad? And, you're buzzing to see him in action at senior level, hopefully. For me to explain the differences in my predictions, I've gone with Clare to get promoted. I think that they'll just have a bit of know-how in the team. They should have gone up last season, obviously with that goal against Westmeath, which ultimately was what cost them going up. And then, as Jer said there, the players that they have returning to the team. I think the little bit of know-how that's in their camp, the experience, I'll go for them to manage to eke out promotion. I think Fermanagh will just about fall short in 3rd place. And then the other different prediction I had was Offaly to finish 5th. It isn't that much of a different prediction. And Sligo being 4th. I feel like I definitely do need to to say this. Sligo finishing fourth is based off the fact that I have to see it to believe it in Division 3. In terms of where you're going and the strides that you're making. We've seen Offaly win the Under-20 All-Ireland Championship. Most people, off the back of that, gave them a massive chance to get promoted. And yet, lo and behold, they're still here. This division is very, very tough to get out of. Very tough to get out of. And I really do think that they might just lose a tricky game to Fermanagh or in that game against Kildare, and it might just be enough to drag them down. I think that it will be a type of situation where early into the league, it's a 4-horse race for who's going up. I could see this division being split right down the middle, where from very early on, it's Kildare, Fermanagh, Clare, and Sligo pushing to go up. I think
just a bit of Seamus. Judging by that, I'm being nice to Offaly, aren't I, Liam? If he's still here.
Like Offaly had a bad year last year, no?
They did have a bad year last year, but there was potential in that team. There is potential in, surely, like.
There absolutely is, but they lost to London by what, 12 points at home? And I know that you can't ride off. Like, that's it. So he says, Liam says here, when we won the Under-20s, we got relegated the following year from Division 2, but weirdly, we've struggled more in Division 3 than we actually did in 2. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. Yeah. I remember that. They had a great win. I think, was it against Down? I just remember Darby cracking over a shot with the outside of his left boot, and Offaly all of a sudden out of nowhere had a real chance of staying up. It's very similar to Kildare, actually, when Kildare got relegated from Division 1, and we're very unlucky to do that, and then we're absolutely stunk the joint out in Division 2. And Liam says here, bet down and lost the walk by a point.
Keane Coyley last minute point. I remember that.
Yeah.
We got out of jail badly that day. And to be fair, like Offaly were heartbroken that day. I felt sorry for them. Look, I know you support Cork, but I always like to see Offaly do well. Yeah. Number one, the jerseys. I love the jerseys, first of all. Cool, and number two, I think they have some excellent footballers. Cormac Egan, Jap Ryan, Aaron Keelan, if he's still about. Morgan Tynan, they have some serious ballers, that Offaly team, and I hope they will come up. I genuinely hope this. That's not just because Liam's commenting and all that. I do hope this Offaly team rise up through the ashes, because it's a really, really good team. It was such an exciting team at Under-20 level. You just love watching them. Yeah, but I think this might be a year just to redevelop under Mickey Hart now. This will be a year to redevelop and then go for promotion next year.
I agree. I think they'll have a decent campaign where they kind of finish mid-table, but I don't think they'll be seriously looking at promotion the way that Kildare, Fermanagh, Clare will be looking. And Jared does ask you here. He says, you can't see a world where Clare don't finish in the top 2. And he says Kildare will lose to Clare in Ennis. The big prediction. I personally would back Kildare to win all their games.
The thing is, Gerard, with Clare, you watched them against Tyrone and Donegal in particular last year, and against Down, and they absolutely fell flat in their face. I feel like Clare will up their game for some games, like a Cork or like a Westmeath or something like that. But in some games, they just, once it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. Mm-hmm. That's my honest thing on it. And Mark Fitzgerald, it seemed like he did a lot of good work with that Clare team, and then just to leave.
Yeah, losing him he definitely seemed like a very good coach.
Yeah.
Gavin's thrown in his predictions. He says Division 3, first Kildare, second Sligo, and Sligo will be the winners. Third Offaly, fourth Clare, fifth Fermanagh, sixth Laois, seventh Antrim, eighth Leitrim. Do you know
we're all agreed on the bottom 3, actually.
I really, really like that table from Gavin, to be honest. And like, if I was to change anything, I probably would move Sligo up a bit higher now that we've fully discussed it. And just seeing your reaction had me like, Jesus, I've really messed up there. Like, putting Sligo there. Maybe would move Sligo a bit higher. I just look at Fermanagh and Clare and think they're battle hard and like they're real in terms of this division. I could see them grinding out results. So Division 4. Let's do it.
Will I start? Let's go.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know about this prediction now because I seen the panel briefly in London, but I'm just going to say London 8.
Agreed.
7th, Tipperary.
Disagreed. I said Waterford.
6th, Carlow.
Disagreed. I said Tip.
5th, Waterford.
Oh, quick look. Disagreed. I said Carlow.
4th, Longford.
Agreed.
3rd, Wexford.
Agreed.
2nd, Limerick.
Agreed.
1st, Wicklow.
Okay, so we're agreed on the top 4 that we think it's going to be Wicklow first, Limerick second,
Wexford, Longford.
Wexford third, and
Longford
Longford fourth.
Yeah.
And we're disagreeing on the positions of the bottom place teams. But my main takeaway from that is you like what you've seen somewhat from Waterford.
I think winning those 2 games last year will give the players a whole lot of confidence. And there are players coming out of Waterford now. There was one guy actually on the I don't know, do you watch much of the Sigerson Cup, Seamus? But there was one guy from MTU Cork. They played against MTU Kerry. I know they lost the game. But MTU Cork scored 2-10 against MTU Kerry. There was 2-5 came from one player, 2-4 from play. The player's name? Alan Dunwoody. He's a forward for Waterford. Watch this guy in Division 4. I think he could have a serious campaign. I think Queeveen Walsh played very well in Division 4 last year. Conor Murray's now the captain of that team. And Paul Shanky, I like what he's doing with this Waterford team. He seems to be breathing a bit of confidence into this panel and this group of players. They got, even when they lost games 2 years ago, they were very, very close to Meath, if people remember correctly as well. So I think Waterford are on an upward trajectory, and I think they just needed a couple of wins to just get the confidence moving again. And I think, honestly, like Carlo, Shane Curd as a coach could be anything. I'll be honest. That's my honest takeaway. And Tipperary, like Conor Sweeney's now left the panel. There's a lot of pressure on Sean O'Connor. And I looked at the Tipperary panel. Some of the county boards have actually released their panels, which is a great sign, great coverage and all that. Fair play to them, and Tipperary included. But none of the Tipperary panellists were from Lockmore Castleknock, the county champions. That's a concern. I think that's a huge concern from a Tipperary football point of view. I think that could be serious repercussions there. But in terms of the top 4, I think Wicklow, Limerick, Wexford could easily go up as well. But I think Limerick have a serious team. They do have players that are capable of kicking 2-pointers, in my opinion. Wicklow, Oisin McConville's still doing a good job with that team, despite going down last season. So they'll finish first.
Yeah, no, I definitely liked what I've seen from Wicklow through numerous ones of their games. And I do think Limerick will probably bounce back as well. But I think if anybody can mess that up, I think it is Wexford. And then moving to the small ball, moving to the hurling, we have the Allianz Hurling League Division 1A predictions. So, very much basically, we're going to do the exact same thing because we're already at an hour. But let's go with it. I'll go with mine there, and you tell me if you agree, disagree. So, Division 1A, 7th place, Wexford.
Agree.
6th place, Tipperary.
Disagree of Galway.
5th place, Clare.
Disagree. I have Tipperary.
4th place, Galway. You disagree with that?
Disagree. I have Kilkenny.
3rd, Kilkenny.
Disagree. I have Clare.
2nd, Cork.
Disagree. I have Limerick.
And 1st, Limerick. So
disagree, Cork.
We don't. I think. Do we have any major disagreements?
I think the major disagreement actually is you have Clare in 5th and I have them in 3rd.
I think they're going to be rolling off the couch. I think they won the All-Ireland title. I could see Brian Lohan giving a lot of the kind of old-timers like your John Conlons and Shane O'Donnell's. I could see them taking the league off. I just especially could see Clare, given that they won the league last year. I just think with the hurling league, however unpredictable the football league, the hurling one is even more, because last year I remember it was like genuinely people were trying to figure out which team would give a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it was so hard to actually pick who you thought was going to win, because it was like, what team are they going to put out? We have a couple of comments rolling in here, guys. Love to see it. Keep them coming. So Jer here says the only thing I'm predicting with confidence about the league is Wexford to go down in 1A and Dublin to win 1B. And Liam White says 7th Wexford, 6th Galway, 5th Tip, 4th Clare, 3rd Limerick, 2nd Kilkenny, and topping the table, Cork. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's definitely not an equal relationship here. Matthew puts Offaly in 4th place, and then Liam comes back saying the Cork are going to top the table. I'm only messing. Yeah, Jer's won my trust back. He says Dublin will win 1B after saying we'll get relegated from Division 1 in the football as well. Yeah, what do you think about that? You're more inclined to agree with Liam's table? Which one are you kind of thinking?
Probably, yeah. I think from a Cork point of view, I think they have to win a trophy, and especially the league. They haven't won the league since 1998. I think this might be a chance for Pat Ryan to, and you look at the competition for places in the Cork team now, it's at an all-time high. I will say, like, you look at the forwards, for example. I said this to Aaron, I said it in one of my pieces in Southern Star as well. Like, the starting half forward line last year was Decky Dalton, Shane Barrett, and Seamus Hartley. Seamus Hartley and Shane Barrett both got All-Stars. Decky Dalton was damn close to one as well. And that's not even mentioning Robbie O'Flynn. Like, you still have some really, really good players in this team. And like Daniel Hogan performed well for Sarahs in the club championship. So did Jack O'Connor, scored 5 points in Crow Park the other day as well. He still has some quality among them as well. You have Hoggy there, obviously. You have Alan Connolly, Brian Hayes, Alan Walsh for Canturk is a new guy in. I really like him. Darragh Fitzgibbon. Like, there are so many good players in this Cork team. And I think, number one, the competition is going to be off the charts, and players are going to take it to a whole other level to try and get into the team for the championship. I think Cork badly need a trophy as well. Like, it's all good, well and saying good that they've made progress and all that, but in terms of the confidence, they need a trophy because they haven't won one since 2018 competitively, the Munster Championship, haven't won the Liam McCarthy since 2005, and the league since 1998. I think Cork need to win a trophy. There's no doubt about that. Limerick, there's going to be a bounce back there from them.
Yeah,
there obviously is. We think different. Clare, I think Clare, I'm actually more inclined to maybe agree with you. Clare might take a dip because they won the All-Ireland. Probably, yeah, but I think we're both definitely agreed that Wexford will be going down. Like, Matt O'Hanlon retiring, Liam McGovern retiring as well. I heard there's some injuries in the camp as well. That's not really going to help Keith Rossiter, who's doing a great job, by the way. But yeah, we shall see. But it's so difficult in hurling, Seamus, because it's a question who will actually put their first hand into the league at the same time.
Yeah. No, it'll be very, very difficult to call. Liam says here, I feel after the end to the All-Ireland final, Pat Ryan would be desperate to win the league and breed confidence ahead of Munster.
Yeah, that's true.
Very,
yeah.
very good point. Yeah. Says here, Clare's main aim this year is to end the Munster famine. Don't think the league is too much of a priority. Main aim for the league is to bring on Darragh Lohan, Keane Galvin, Robin Mountseat, Diarmuid Ryan is out injured. And then Gavin here has a question. Matthew, I'll let you take this one if you'd like. Lads, as a football fan, how does Division 1 work in hurling? Are 1A and 1B the same level? Well, I'll put it this way, Gavin. If we were to make a 1A team and a 1B team, the 1A team would beat the shit out of the 1B team. So probably not. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I think the structure of the hurling is actually much better this year because it used to be 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. Yeah. And you got a lot of hammerings and things like that. Like Offaly were the same division. Well, I'm not going to mention Offaly because Offaly are doing an upward trajectory. Like Westmeath, it's definitely going to fit into that category, or Laois. We're playing the likes of Cork and Clare and Limerick and getting absolutely pummeled. And that is not helping them develop. So I think for them to be in 1B this year, we'll talk about 1B in a sec, I think that's going to be great for their development. And as well as that, from Division 2, Division 3, Division 4, I think it's a lot more structured in terms of layout. I think that's going to be the best thing as well. But the one thing I want in the hurling league more than anything this year, and the same for the Christy Ring, Laurie Marr, Nicky Rackard, more coverage. Please, more coverage, because we can cover these games in depth and things like that rather than just spouting things randomly.
Yeah, that is the truth. Like, there'd be, even if we could just see highlights or something, like a live stream of a match on YouTube, because I remember covering hurling games in the league last year, and you just have to read match reports, and that does make the coverage that you can do of the games not to the same standard of if you actually saw it yourself, because then you can form your own opinions. But if you read a match report, sometimes you are very heavily influenced by the way it was written as to what you think actually happened if you didn't see it yourself. So yeah, I think Division 1A, like it's a lot closer this year to being, your traditional Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4, and 1A and 1B definitely do give the vibe of Division 1, Division 2 in terms of when you look at the teams that are in there. I think if you were to list, the best 6 teams in the league, I think you'd definitely put Clare, Cork, Galway, Kilkenny, Limerick, Tip in terms of talent. Wexford, you could argue, are the 7th best. I think Waterford definitely are in there, and Dublin are in there against Wexford, given that we always seem to at least draw with them or beat them. But they're always capable of upping their level higher than Dublin seem to be able to. Like Wexford can always beat Kilkenny, and we've really struggled at that. We'll move to the Division 1B predictions. So I'll go again, seeing as you did the football, I'll do the hurling. So starting off, 7th place, I've got Laois.
Disagree. I have Carlow.
Okay. 6th place, I've got Westmeath.
Agree.
5th place, I've got Carlow.
Disagree. Laois.
Okay, I think we might be on to a winner here. 4th place, Antrim.
Agree.
3rd place, Offaly.
Agree.
2nd place, Waterford.
Disagree. I've Dublin.
No. Oh. And 1st place, Dublin.
Disagree. I've Waterford.
Okay, very interesting. Liam has thrown in his table as well. He says 1 Dublin, 2 Waterford, 3 Offaly, 4 Antrim, 5 Laois, 6 Carlow, and 7 Westmeath. So I like Liam's table. He has Dublin winning. Yeah, what do you think of the league? Just kind of in general.
Waterford are sleeping in the long grass here.
Yeah.
Watch out for them. I think Peter Queally is a really good manager from what I'm hearing. And the buy-in is really good. Added to the fact Austin Gleeson's back in the panel now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the buy-in will be good with Waterford. The fact they got so close to it, progressive for Munster with Davey in charge, who kind of splits opinion. I think Waterford will be a dangerous team this year. I really think so. And I think they'll start their year right by topping this division. In the division, let's be honest, I know Neil O'Callaghan's coming into the job, and Dublin has some decent players in there, but let's call a spade a spade. If you are to say a combined 15 between Waterford and Dublin players, who would have more? The answer is Waterford. Waterford would have more. If you're picking players like Jamie Barr and Austin Gleeson, the Ballygunner lads like the likes of Patrick Fitzgerald, Desi Hutchinson, you're picking Waterford lads all day long. So I feel like Waterford will top this division. As for 7th and stuff like that, I think Carlow will finish 7th because there's a lot of retirements there. I feel like it normally is the kind of trajectory for a side that drops out of Leinster. You've seen it with Westmeath last year. They hit a huge downward spiral after that. They finished low down the table than Joe McDonough after that. Laois, I think, are better than what you said in 7th place. They reached the Joe McDonough final last year and were very close to Offaly. So I'd like you to explain that one in a way.
Yeah, just again their lack of recent experience against Leinster Championship opposition, like Offaly, Antrim, Westmeath, Carlow. They've all had very, very recent experience against teams in the Leinster Championship, and Offaly obviously went out and played against Cork and did put on a very entertaining game. Plus, I think the absolute energy behind Offaly. I know that Adam Screeney's injured, and that's a huge blow.
I think that's why they'll finish 3rd in the division.
I think if they were going to catch anyone, I think it would be Dublin. I am very aware of that. I think if I was Offaly, I would be looking at Dublin and thinking that's a team we can catch. But yeah, I feel like Laois's lack of recent experience compared to their counterparts, I think, will actually hamper them a bit.
Maybe so. It'll be interesting to see Antrim as well. I know we both have them in 4th, and Liam has them in 4th as well. But under Davey, it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of Antrim team comes out as well. On the pitch and off the pitch.
Liam says Antrim could easily finish above us, to be fair. Yeah, I think Davey will. again, Davey's going to split opinion, and one thing
Yeah.
is like it's going to be entertaining, and having him in the championship is always entertaining. I like when Davey's there; it does always make it interesting. Personally, I wouldn't have wanted him with Dublin. I definitely prefer the idea of a Neil O'Callaghan type, because I think Davey can sometimes be like a shot of adrenaline. That he would come in and have like a golden summer with Dublin where we'd get to a Leinster final and maybe win it or something, but then we'd absolutely fall off a cliff, like which is what Wexford did. Like after 2019, Wexford were really in the doldrums for a few years, and even under Darry Egan, like they really struggled to break a cycle, and they had such a cycle of losing a game that they should never lose every year, like. And then they'd always have to bail themselves out of trouble with a miraculous performance against Kilkenny or something. So I do feel like there's more stability under Keith Rossiter. And I think that they'll be okay, Wexford. I think that they'll probably finish third. I think Dublin might finish fourth, but I would take finishing fourth. This is the thing. The way that Offaly are going about it, there's longevity around this team. Like Offaly are going about building a team that is going to be able to compete over the next 5 or 6 years. Dublin, over the last 2 years, we have prioritized just playing the best that we have, playing the best players that we have available to us. And I know that that's always the goal, but we're not planning anything for the long term. And a lot of our championship years were going exactly the same, no matter who we had in charge. It was either beat Wexford by a point or draw with them. Usually lose to Galway, to be fair. Last year was a definite switch up in that, and hence we reached the Leinster final. But then we usually get beaten by Kilkenny, get out into the quarter final, and that's where we would exit the championship to whoever we came up against from Munster. So I would be happy to take a step back and rebuild if it meant then really powering on in future to get better and better. We have a couple of comments in here, lads. Jer says Davy to quietly start his selector at full forward against Dublin in the championship. It will be very interesting. You'd never, ever know. Liam says, I like Dublin's manager. I think he'll make a big difference. I really like O'Callaghan as well. I think there is undoubtedly potential with what he could do with this team. The only slight concern I would have is it does remind me a lot of when Maddie Kenny came in. They'd won back-to-back All-Ireland club titles with Coola, and we were okay under Maddie. I had a great day against Galway, obviously in Croke Park when we won, but again, we didn't break the cycle, and I really want to break the cycle with Neil O'Callaghan. I either want to win a Leinster or get to the All-Ireland semi-final.
Yeah, and one thing I was going to mention about Waterford, I forgot to mention why they could have a good year. Ballygunner going out of Munster early, that would kind of be a benefit.
Play for Waterford.
With Desi Hutchinson, Patrick Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
It's a benefit for them,
Yeah, it's a benefit for them that they're back in, and I think it'll be interesting to see how Peter Creeley will get on. Liam says Nafina played better hurling than Coola did, in my opinion. I would definitely say that I think Nafina were more kind of clear cut, that like Nafina were undoubtedly deserving winners on the day. Coola, obviously, I'm not saying that they're not deserving winners before anybody thinks that I did say that, but I say Nafina were, like, you could tell it was Nafina's day. And yeah, look, we will move then to Division 2 to Division 4, and I'll just ask for your winner. Just ask for the winner. All I'm going to ask is just for your winner. So I'll list the teams for you, and then you.
Yeah, I have them listed anyway. I'm gonna look. List them anyway because I only had the fixture. Sorry.
Okay, so Division 4. So out of Division 4, we've got Fermanagh, Lancashire, Leitrim, Longford, Louth, Monaghan, and Warwickshire. And your winner is?
I'm going to go with.
I'm going with Fermanagh. Very good. Yeah. Same page. 1 from 1. Division 3. Armagh, Cavan, London, Mayo, Roscommon, Sligo, and Wicklow. 3, 2, 1.
Mayo.
Oh, 2 from 2. Yeah. Look at us go. Can we go 3 from 3, lads? Here we go. Division 2. Derry, Donegal, Down, Kildare, Kerry, Meath, and Tyrone. 3, 2, 1.
Kildare.
Yes! There we go, lads. History made. We agreed on all 3. That is mental. Nah, messing. We actually have a Google Doc, and we can both see who we're gonna pick. Nah, messing. That was all genuine in the instant picks. But let us know what your comments are. Let me know who you think is going to win Division 2, 3, and 4. Jer disagrees with us. He says Kerry to win Division 2. Be very impressed with them, especially if they lose Fiona Mackesy if they did manage to win Division 2. Yeah. So, Matthew, one last thing I'll ask you. Who do you pick to be the breakout star of the league in both sports? And I hate
football. Football. Owen McElhone.
Owen McElhone was a great shout there.
Hurling. Have to think about this now in hurling. I'm gonna go. Does Shane O'Brien count?
In terms of putting his stamp on the team to a level that he never has before.
Yeah. Oh. You know what? I'm just gonna go for another Limerick player, Donegal Gaelic.
Yeah, Darlig's a great shout. I would be tempted to go with potentially Ben Cunningham.
Yeah, great shout, yeah.
And then for the football, I am either going to go with Shane McGinley from Roscommon or Shea O'Hare from Tyrone.
Yeah.
I think either of them I'd be happy with. I'll probably lean to O'Hare because I think he's definitely going to start at right half back for Tyrone. I'd be stunned if he doesn't. And we've one more comment in here. Jay says, Owen O'Donnell will be the breakout star in the football. That is definitely something that I wasn't expecting to see going into 2025 with a new manager. But Owen is a footballer now. Guys, that is the end of the full Allianz League predictions for 2025. If you want to give it a shot yourself, go check out my TikTok account because I obviously have the full ranking filter up there. And you can have a look at it. Big thanks to Jer. Big thanks to Gavin O'Reilly. Big thanks to Jack Nolte, to Patrick Cahill, to Liam White for all throwing in the comments, lads. I love to see it. It really helped make the video what it was. I really enjoyed that one, Matthew. Thank you for jumping on, lads. If you haven't, check out Matthew's video where we previewed the weekend's games in depth, the ones that are actually coming up this weekend, and you can see what we think is going to happen in week 1. But that is the full Allianz League's prediction for 2025. Until this weekend when we do a match weekend review, I should say, take care of yourselves and have a great weekend.